Yes, 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 I would, Bruce. Yes, I'd be late for my own funeral. You are correct. Hello, good evening. It is Sunday night again. It is that time of the week to talk a little bit more about what's going on this week. Talk about some of the problems that I've had this week on the bench. Destroying 170 quid's worth of an air unit by accident. We're going to talk a little bit about a new antenna that's become available for this, the DJI Digital FPV system. Some ways that you could protect yourself from doing what I did this week. And we're going to talk a bit about the Sony drone because we finally have some proper details on this new aircraft from Sony. Not FPV related directly, but we're going to talk a bit about that. And I'm just looking along my list. We've got Inav 3.0 as well to talk about. And a couple of other things for the DJI FPV drone, such as prop adapters too. Anyway, someone please give me a shout out. Let me know we are all working. Good evening. I hope you are all safe and well wherever you are in the world. I'm just going to catch up on the chat because I can see some people here. Good evening, Chopper Girl. I've seen your question. We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. My Life Matters. Bruce, I can see. Good evening. Who else? Floor Flyer. I can see you hiding up there. And Failsafe FPV as well. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I've also got the chat up over here. So if you see me looking this way, I put it on the screen of the laptop. Although, this type, my usual man is here to make sure I am working properly. Just checking in. The Junkie 1023. Good evening, evening English bloke. Thank you very much. Yes, the English bloke is here. I'm waiting for JB. For those who don't know, I was on the I popped on to see JB earlier. I was just doing some stuff on the bench. JB often live streams on a Sunday night, a bit earlier than us, and I was just putting some comments in the chat, and he spotted I was there, and he said he liked my English accent, which then caused havoc because we're not English over here, we're Welsh, but we can forgive JB for that one. That's not an issue at all. But it was quite funny just the way he got like an onslaught of I won't say abuse, because abuse wasn't the right word, but it was just an onslaught of, ooh, you don't want to do that. It was quite funny. So, yeah, guys, it's been an interesting week. How are all of you guys? Good evening from Sweden. Tommy, how are you? Thomas, Freestyle FPV, good evening, My Life Matters. I think I've said hello to you already, but I'm not sure. But I'm going to do it again anyway. So, as always, guys, if you've got any questions, yes, I'm standing again. I decided to do it standing. We'll see how long it lasts. I do have a drink. My only problem I have is it's not actually easy to transition because of the table of the camera. I can put the table down and I can sit down, but you'll be looking about that top of my head, so the image overall would probably improve. Let's get started. I think let's get on with it. Mount the cable. Yes, but the only problem with that, Bruce, is it rocks, because the table does have a very slight rock, and it is a very slight, but the camera would as well. But you are right. I do need to figure that one out. I need an electric tripod. You press a button and the tripod goes down. That would be the way forward, wouldn't it? Okay, so let me just get myself in order here. Hello, good evening, Epstein. How are you? Put the camera on a gimbal on the table. Yeah, that would help. Well, yes, because DJI actually have the Ronin RS. The RS2 does face tracking as well. Mount your corner front scene in rack. Very stable. Yeah, it's always one of those. It's the only problem. There is a slight rock in the table. You can't see, but if I do that, it does sort of wobble a little bit. Okay, so I hope you've all had a good week, and I hope you've had a better week than I have, because as Bruce said earlier, there's bad luck and then there's mad luck, and that's what I've had this week. Now, I'm going to show you a post. For those who haven't seen, we put a post up on Facebook the other day, which is about this, which is the DJI Digital FPV Air Unit, or what is left of my Air Unit. Now, if I open the image in a new tab, just so you guys can see, you can see inside, and we've had a little bit of an accident, and it is here. Now, what you can see is this is the main board in the Air Unit. Whilst I haven't cleaned off, that there is the P1 chip. I think it's that one of the two, which is the custom DJI silicon, and then the other one is just a NAND chip. As part of that, basically, what you've then got is two voltage regulator chips, and on the other side of this board, which you can't see here, which I will show you in a minute, is the power connector. So the power connector is literally here. That's where the power connector is on this one. Now, just to explain what actually happened, I was doing a bunch of testing on the bench, doing a bit more testing with the DJI FPV system and the spectrum analyzer to dig a bit more into this 50 megabits a second thing. And did it so I could try to understand what was going on a bit more. When if you've seen the video, I talked about the video and the RC following each other in 25 megabits mode, but in 50 megabits mode, RC tends to stay on channel 8, but I had observed it move to channel 2. Now, I now know it's channel 2 because I've been able to observe it again in a bit more detail, and I have a better understanding of what is going on with it. However, what I was doing was a lot of power up and power downs. Now, traditionally when I'm working on the bench, I tend to use a LiPo, but as you guys who have this system with a normal air unit know, it drains quite a lot of juice on the bench, even in general use. And I have a habit of flattening LiPos a bit beyond what you should do with them. Because you're in the mix of doing stuff on and off, it was at the stage where I thought, okay, I've killed one or two. I don't want to keep doing this, so I'll use the bench supply instead. Now, I've got a very nice bench power supply over there. You can't quite see it. It's meant to be a good bit of kit. And the irony is I can't actually find out what's gone wrong. I'd powered the air unit on and off with the bench power supply at least 8 times without a problem. And bearing in mind, we were powering the whole quad at this point, not just the air unit. And I decided to do one more test, that infamous one last test, as Richard Hammond did when he drove the Rimac and when he did the other stuff. He did the one more time. And as soon as I hit power on the PSU, we had the magic smoke come out. Now, this magic smoke came from, I thought, from the regulator on the power board on the quad. I wasn't actually aware that it had burnt the air unit until about 2 hours later when I actually tried it. But out of nowhere, it literally just produced the magic smoke. Now, just to confirm, I wasn't working on the quad. This wasn't the quad in pieces. This wasn't anything changed, no firmware changes. This was simply powering the system on and off. Oh, well, there we've got a battery just finished charging. That's some LiPos I have been using today. Finishing that testing that I'm charging back up. Wait for that to stop. There we go. So, yeah, so this wasn't a quad in pieces. It wasn't in bits. But it literally burnt for no good reason. Now, I had a chunk of magic smoke. It killed the regulator in the flight controller. I thought that's where it came from. But after further investigation, as I was showing you guys here, we also burnt out the FPV air unit. Now, the air unit just wouldn't power up. No life from it whatsoever. As soon as I did take it out and smelt it, instantly I was able to go, oh yeah, we've killed it. And upon teardown, I managed to see the damage here. Now, what I'm going to do is jump to the overhead, because I've got it here, and I'll actually show you what we've done. We're using the switch on the supply. Right, my power supply has a 2-stage switch. So you've got the main power switch, and then you've got a soft power switch as well. And it was the soft power switch. So when you turn the supply on, it has a physical mains power up, and then it has a soft power up. So it never kicks in and on. It kicks into standby, where you can set the voltages, and then you can then say, enable outputs. And that's what I'd actually done. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones. I still don't fully understand it. Now, my assumption at this point is that it's overvoltaged, but I can't prove it. I have nothing to prove. It's not a short because there was nothing wrong. This wasn't a quad in bits. It didn't just short itself out for no good reason. So this, in my head, can only have been overvoltage. Now, overvoltage makes sense because the power board that it was attached to is only rated for 4S as well, as is the air unit. So it would make sense. Bruce, that's what I've been doing today, funny enough, and I can't replicate it. I just can't replicate it. The only thing I need to do is try it with a higher load again, just to see if that does it. But I have tried it with 1 amp today, and it's coming up absolutely fine. But the only assumption I can have is that it overvoltaged and burnt the air unit. Now, if it did overvoltage, it did it for a microsecond, but that was quick enough to pour out the smoke. Now, just to do to the overhead, we've got, this is the board of the air unit here. Now, I will do a proper video on tearing this down. I know a couple of people have torn them down already, but we will do a proper one, actually, to have a look. What I'm going to do is, let's get in a bit closer so you guys can see. Okay, so this is the board on the air unit with the cans removed. As you can see, we've got the power connector here. I've taken the cans off this side. We've got no real damage in view this side at all. Everything looks good. Everything looks absolutely fine. And then flipping it over to the other side, and if I let me just rotate it the right way, we've then got the SoC. Ignore that. That's not a burn mark. That's just some dirt on the some flux on the thing where I moved the IC. Now, as you can see, I have already removed the second regulator, which was here, or the first regulator. Now, these two are identical. Luckily, I could see the part number still on it, and this one there and this one there was identical. And what it looks like, and I can't confirm it until I've changed it, but it looks like the voltage must come into this regulator, probably takes it down to something like 5 or 9 volts. And then it probably takes it down a second time to that there. So as you can see, we've already removed the regulator, but this is an absolute minuscule part. It really is. It has no pins. The design of this component is entirely surface mount with pads on the side and solder bridging. I've removed it, as you can see, and we've cleaned up the pads already. And I'm at the stage where I hope I'm ready to fit a new one. Now, the part number of what this was that burned, let me just get it, oh, sorry, changed the wrong one. Let me just find it for you guys. It's a Texas Instruments 54355A regulator, and I think it's TPS 54335. Now, unfortunately, this has been almost impossible to get hold of. It is out of stock everywhere. But I've managed to get 5 over from China, which are probably going to take about a month. And I found one company in the UK that is selling them singly for £10 each. Yeah, that's what the outcome is. So I've ordered the parts. We're going to wait for one to come in, and then we're going to attempt a repair. I'm not convinced, I'll be honest, just due to the size of it. You know, to give you guys an idea, let me just find it. You know, you can see how small that is there, but I'll catch up on the comments now. But, sorry, go to that one, go to that one. Just to give you an idea, I can see some comments. What was someone saying? I'll catch up on the comments now. Let me just bring them up. I've lost that screen already. There we go. In this bag is the old one. Let me just get it out because it is absolutely bloody minuscule. Here it is. And I just want to show you the size of the pads we're dealing with here. Right, there it is. Now, just to bring that over. Now, what I'm going to do is put that there and try to refocus. Ooh, where is it? There we go. Now, that gives you an idea of the task we have at hand. It ain't going to be easy. It's about, it's 3mm by 3mm. That's the entire size of the component, I can't tell you. So, yeah, no small task is going to be putting this back together. Now, I have 5 of these regulators coming, 6 in total, 5 coming from China, 1 coming from the UK. I think I paid £1.20 each from China and 11 quid from the UK, unfortunately, but that's the price you pay for extras, for them getting them singly as well. Now, let me just jump back into the chat so I can see what people were saying. me just move that there. Actually, let me bring this forward a little bit so I can see the chat a bit better as I'm moving along. What did we have? Okay. I power it on using the switch on the bench supply. As I said, I was using the soft power switch. That's what I was doing. Maybe reverse priority accident like ended my RC career. Yeah, well, there's no reason it's reverse priority. Nothing changed. This was simply on, off, because I was monitoring it with a spectrum analyzer. So there's no reason anything changed here. There really isn't. In the supply base, I caused it after supply up gasping straws. It's a weird one. Those chips look melty. Which ones are you talking about? If you're talking about the two big ones, that's just the heatsink compound on the top. Some FCs have inductors as part of the noise filtering circuit. They also provide an inductive burst of power, I guess. FPV, that blue stuff, heatsink compound. Yes, it's what DJI use. Very weird stuff. They've always used it. Very weird. No, the actual chips, heat stress severely. There has been, you've got to take into account, I have had hot air on this already, so there will be a bit of hot air involved. So in the process of, has lots of flux, yes. Yeah, what I'm thinking of doing for the solder down on this is I'm going to have to be careful that there isn't too much solder under the center of the chip. I'm always going to remove all of the solder under the center, because you're not going to want a lot there at all. A very minuscule amount. Solder that down, and I've got a very micro tip, which I've now tinned, so which is going to allow me to put a very small amount on each time, and tin it as we go through. Yes, I have seen it, and I have it up ready to talk about in a minute. FPV Tech, I didn't mention that's what we'll talk about. It is up on the browser already, and we'll talk about that. We'll have a chat about that later. Bad luck. It is. Look, it's an annoyance because it's 170 quid air unit, but as you say, it's a great opportunity. For me, the frustration is I don't mind it when I break stuff. And look, I break stuff all the time. I ripped the USB port off the Rover. Well, it ripped the USB port off. It wasn't me. But this was a weird one. I genuinely don't understand it. It's the old, the most simple answer must be the correct answer, which is the power supply over voltage. That's the, let me just put that up out of the way. That's the simple answer. But we're going to have a good look over the air unit, and I'll make some more content on that as well. You've got the other board over here. We've got, to give you guys an idea, we've got the rest of it here. Now the cans actually pop off on the air unit. They don't stay on. So if we just, let me just go to the overhead and show you a little bit closer. And so if we just focus, please. There we go. Okay, so what we've then got is obviously we've got that board, which is both sides with the blue heat compound on. Now I'm going to have to get more heat compound because there's certainly not enough there, and it's all got to be cleaned up. You've then got the two cans, which simply come off. There's more heat compound. So I need to order some compound, actually, because I don't actually have any. So these two cans, they just lift off. And then you've got the other board with the ribbon connector on it with the SD card, which is basically the DVR. And then inside, you've got just the bottom of the unit there. So, yeah, look, it's a frustration. It's an annoyance. I wish it hadn't happened. But at the end of the day, these things do happen. And you just have to swallow it when they do, unfortunately. You know, it is what it is. It's part of making content. You know, it's the second time I've had an incident when making lose liquid metal. Do you know what, Bruce? I actually had already thought of that, going, could put liquid metal. No. We'd have to take the Sony PlayStation approach with foam all around the chips to try and keep it in place, because you know it'd be running out the side of it. Be coming out the SD card slot. But no, I got to probably go for some Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut, or probably Cryonaut I'll probably use. PSU over voltage, or sometimes stuff just breaks. Yeah, I'm convinced it's the power supply because it burnt two separate boards. And that's what makes me convinced it's the PSU. Just to show you the other board that it burnt. It also burnt the regulator on the Brain FPV one. You can see that's burnt there. Because the air unit was being powered off the regulator on this. So it's no, it wasn't. It was straight battery, sorry, but it's burnt the regulator on this as well. You can see that. So, yeah, crap happens, unfortunately. I just wish... It's quite weird because I'm finally in the position where I had a spare ear unit. I've got 4 now ear units, and I'd ordered the new Cadex one as my spare, and I'm going to do a review on the new Cadex one in the next couple of weeks, or days, in fact, and I had it as a spare. Now I'm back to square one again, which is a bit frustrating. So, that's my accident. It happens. Now, just really, the only thing I was going to say is, it might be worth me getting one of these. I'm wondering if a short saver would have protected us, even on the bench supply. So I am going to order in one of these, I think. I just put a sun load on the PSU and short circuit. It could have just let go. It is possible it just let go. But I'm going to get one of these short savers just in case, I think. Just to have a bit of protection and backup when working on these things. So, you know, if you are doing stuff... Yeah, she did have current limiting, but it was about 6-7 amp. I hadn't set it particularly low, Bruce. It was about 6-7 amp. I always have it about 6-7 amp just in case. Too late, of course. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm gonna get one in. I don't actually have one. Just as a get out of jail card. I need to pay, you know, when you start having £170 mistakes, you've got to be a bit more careful. I don't mind burning up autopilots. At the end of it, if you burn a 30 or 40 quid flight controller, it's not end of the world. The chances are you're going to burn one in a field at some point anyway, so you don't mind. But when you start burning ear units, it does get a bit expensive then. You do start to think, I need to take a bit more care. So, yeah. So that's that one. Chopper Girl, they heat up with a lot of current going through them, but it'd be nice to have an on and off. And the short saver is in. I've not actually seen it. Funny enough, I need to watch JB's. She got 1 amp, 2 amp switch. Binding switch. What's the binding switch for? No, exactly. As Type says, more safety. Less madness. I'm just looking on it now. So you've got 1 amp, 2 amp switch, binding switch. I haven't had a good look into these, so I do need to have a look. So yeah, it's going to be on my list for this week. It's another little list of things I need to order. I got to order another ESC for the build I'm doing right now anyway. So it is what it is. So it's one of those things. Now, as I said, I've ordered the regulators from China. They're going to be about a month, and that's why I've ended up ordering more from the UK. When they come in, then I will do a full repair video on it, and we'll hope it works. Safe supply with a clamping regulator and a current trip. Yeah, I'm going to be a bit more careful with the PSU now and in future. The annoyance, and this is the frustration in some ways, I had it set to 4S voltage, 16 volt, about 16.2. There was no need for it to be at 16.2. It could have been at 3S. Do PSU go duff? They can. Anything can happen. There's a remote possibility anything could happen with a surge current at fire up. I've had the scope on it, Bruce, already today, and I've been checking it as it kicks in on a single snapshot, and I'm not seeing anything untoward. But I probably want to do it with a bit more load and see what happens then. Again, I've not been able to reproduce it, sadly. How to configure Ardupilot? How to configure Ardupilot? Yeah, Ardupilot, there's a lot. We'll talk about that a bit in a minute because I have got a thing on that. So, guys, obviously, we've burnt it. There'll be a video coming. I'll do a video whatever happens on this one, actually. So even if it doesn't work out, pushing the limits. Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things, Bruce. I could have been at 3S voltage. I just, for some reason, instinctively in my head, went 4S quad, 4S voltage, put it at 16 volt, it'll be fine. But yeah, so I will make a video on it when it's ready. Right, guys, the next thing, whilst we're still on DJI, because there's a few little topics I want to talk about on this. The next one is, where is it? Let me just find it. These. Now, I'll put it up. We have some prop adapters that have been released for the DJI FPV drone, $24, and they allow you to use standard props on the FPV drone. Now, I'm not going to bother with these personally because I don't have a problem with the props on the FPV drone as it is. I've not even damaged the first set. I've flown it extensively and I have no problems with mine at all. But I don't try putting mine through gaps that will rip an arm off it. That's what the other one is for, that I currently can't fly now. But these are available if people are interested. Set of prop adapters that allows you to use 5-inch props. We don't believe there's any issues using these. People who have used them have said they haven't had any problems. There's been a couple of people trying them out already. I'm not really concerned at the price of DJI props. I don't break enough of them to really be worried about the price. Yeah, if you were flying this through gaps every day and breaking props every day, it would get expensive. However, I have a feeling props are going to be the least of your problems if you're breaking them, because you're going to be ripping arms off the damn thing quick within short order, let's just say. However, they are available. Yeah, interesting. You know, it's a very basic, nice addition. It's nothing. You probably break an arm anyway. And that's my 100% Bruce. You know, Bruce's comment there is if you break a prop, you're probably going to break an arm. And that's where I'm at with this. I have never been one for really using aftermarket props. The only drone I did use aftermarket props on from DJI was the Inspire 2 with the folding carbon ones. And they were fantastic, but scared the life out of me most of the time. So I did go back to the originals. But they're going to be a nice addition for some people. You know, you're going to see... People have asked, will DJI know you've used them? Yes and no. It would be clear in the log traces that the motors were spinning at a different speed to usual. How clear, though, I don't know. Props to get scuffed. They do, yeah. You know, they can. So, but I wouldn't be too worried about aftermarket and warranty and stuff like that. But it is just something to be aware of with DJI, because they do say any third-party accessories may invalidate the warranty. They've said that on all of their drones. Nothing specific to the DJI FPV one. But yeah, so available, $24. Put them back up. Interesting, you know, really interesting indeed. It's nice to see it. It's a nice to see option, isn't it? It really is. Okay, now the next thing, and this is the gentleman we have in the chat as well, which it's already up. Look, I had it up, is FPV Tech. Now, this is the gentleman who spoke to us a few times on the live stream. He's also probably here right now. Give us a wave if you are. And he's just released a new dual-band patch antenna for use with the V2 goggles with the FPV drone. Now, it should be added, these aren't specific to be used with the with the FPV drone. There's no technical reason you can't use these with the Air units, but it is a dual-band patch antenna. So it is designed for the FPV drone rather than the Air unit use itself. It's going to be big, and it is a large item. No, it's not. Slightly different. I've seen RC shims today, funny enough. There's a few people come onto the market at the same time. It is a flat patch antenna that mounts to the front. The size is based on, you know, look, we're talking about 2.4 gigs here. Unfortunately, there comes a price with these. But they're going to be available now, $119. Pilots have reported solid video at 10 miles, 16 kilometers on this. So very interesting indeed. Very, very interesting. Has a 3D printed back bracket. You can see then you've got the connections through the RPSMAs. And in the box you get the antenna. Now, obviously, I haven't seen... I think he just launched the site this week. Good evening, MacVision. How are you? So this has literally just come up, but it is available as well. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to speak to him after. Hopefully, we might be able to get one on and take a look. And I can test it quite interestingly here, because being CE, the range is complete nonsense normally. So it's very easy to test an improvement on something like this in CE, because I can throw a stone at it with the range you normally get over here. Where to buy over in the EU? I don't know. Has he arranged anywhere in the EU yet? You're not allowed to fly that far. 10 kilometers? No. I can't even get to 400 meters visual line of sight in CE mode. My head pointed the right way. There's the prop. That is the truth. There is the truth when you are, because you have a habit of just moving around, wouldn't you? You need someone just to make sure you are pointing in the right direction at all times. But yeah, so it is available. We're going to really interesting to see how it performs. Hopefully we can get one on. He is in the chat. FPV Tech is there. So he can probably answer what the score is with EU. As well. So yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how it performs overall. So it is available now, and what I will do is at the end of this stream I'll put a link to the website as well in the comments, so you guys can get to it too. But just so you can see it, it is FPV Tech, and that's his website there. And he's also got the 3D printed battery mod adapter. If you guys who watch regularly, you'd have seen a gentleman try it with an extra battery on the back, and it was the same guy, and he's got a battery back adapter as well, and he's got some racing frames and some other stuff coming soon too. So fpvtech.com, please do check it out. Okay, catching up on the chat. Now we've got one last thing we'll talk about, sort of DJI FPV drone related, but it isn't. In my opinion, it's not anyway, but we'll come on to that in a minute. I would need a spotter. After years of using high gain hexels, oh my god, my head is very good at auto tracking my models. That is the problem. You end up, you know, it's bad enough when the goggles are on. I haven't flown this weekend. I haven't flown for about 2 weeks now, unfortunately. I've been doing a lot more bench stuff than flying again. I need to get back out. Because I have been rusty this year. But I was getting a bit better, to say the least. But, yes. Okay. The next thing to discuss is this thing. Now, this is a new camera from RunCam. Now, I'm going to look at this objectively and give you my thoughts on what I think is going on here, because I think, to me, it looks like RunCam are being a little bit underhanded, in my opinion. Now, I have nothing against RunCam. I have no eggs in this race. Not quite the term, I know. But they've released a new camera, which is called the RunCam MIPI. It's going to be $41. If we look at the spec, compatible with digital HD system that provides standard MIPI interface. RunCam MIPI is upgraded digital-only camera from the RunCam Racer 4. It's not compatible with SharkBite. They make it clear here. It is not compatible with SharkBite. If you're looking for a camera with SharkBite, please choose the RunCam Nano HD. So they're not saying what it is compatible with, but they're saying it's not compatible with SharkBite. So we come down and it says micro size, only weighs 6.5 grams. Default resolution is 1280 by 720 at 60 frames a second. So this is very much 720p 60 frames a second, the same as you would expect for SharkBite. Yet it isn't SharkBite. Firmware for digital VTX, 32 milliseconds latency. Interesting comment, not sure about that. Customizable to 1080p 60 frames a second firmware for internet devices. Now, nowhere here do they say who or what this is for. Possibly OpenHD, as Bruce has just said. However, in their chat on Facebook, they're saying this camera is DJI compatible. Now, I don't think that's right, and I think they're being a little bit underhanded here, because the way they're talking is it's just a digital camera. But they have out and out said in their chat to customers that this will work with the DJI Digital FPV system. It has the same connector DJI have on the back. Just to find the picture. There it is. It's using this same connection that DJI is using. Now, that connector isn't MIPI in itself. That connector is fairly unique to DJI, let's just say. So, I don't know what's going on here, and I don't understand. I don't understand what they're playing at with this one. RGPI is interesting as well, but it doesn't go on the standard camera port. I don't believe the wiring is different. I will post the link now, no problem, Ernestine. It's interesting, but what I find a little bit dodgy is the way they're posting all over Facebook at places that it's compatible with the DJI system, yet there's no official. Now, this may be a little bit backdoor compatibility. Now, this isn't the first time they've had a camera which they said was compatible with the DJI system, because it all kicked off, and then Cadex released a statement, then DJI released a statement, and then they released a statement saying that Cadex were trying to spread lies. Now, just so you understand, SharkBite has an encryption IC or an authentication IC on the camera. You can't just make a camera to work with SharkBite. You have to also have the encryption or the authentication IC. And you have to have that on the camera, which it doesn't. So that's why it's not SharkBite compatible. But DJI doesn't do that. But what DJI does is have hardware ID type of authentication, so serial number, device type, hardware IDs of the chipset, etc., etc. And what it feels like happened last time is they basically cloned the ID of the Cadex camera, and that's what it seems like they did. Now, whether they've done that again, I don't know. If it is compatible with DJI, it really is a strange spec, because it really is nothing good here. You know, even if it does this 1080p 60, it's still not going to do the 120 frames a second we need for low latency mode. And the default is 720p, which is much lower than we're used to having. Okay, it's better than maybe some of the basic Cadex. But I don't know, it's a bit of a weird one, but it is available. There's nothing confirmed at this point in time, though, with it. It's on pre-order. Runcam makes some great cameras. I have a lot of Runcam cameras. You know, I'm not against Runcam, but this just feels very strange. They've either got to say compatible with, will work with, but not designed for, or something like that. Just posting it on Facebook, I don't know. I don't. Perhaps they can't say because of it isn't officially compatible, and DJI, it's got the DJI connector on it as well. Just looking down the chat. Raspberry Pi, interesting. Mike Bergman, I would go over my left testes if it was to look good as the Nebula Pro. Yeah, I don't think it would. I would hand it over. Raspberry Pi is interesting. Can't find the link. I'll post the link now. A DJI cam, but also plausible deniability. Possibly. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Chopper Girl, it really does. Manix FPV, I'm a Runcam fanboy, even though I'm DJI now. Yeah, they make great cameras. There's no question about that. BB Junkie 1023. Yeah, it is a standard, but the connection can be whatever you want. It's a communication standard more than anything. You probably aren't legally able to say it without the lawyers. Very possible. I'm using the 4K Eagle a lot. Broken out of the box, false physical. My only complaint really is, if it is compatible, why didn't they make it better? Really? Why didn't they make it 1080p 120 frames a second? That is... Let me just find this antenna link as well. Put it in the chat. Why did they not make it that? That is the frustration. Why not make it a... They could really take the camera market right now for the DJI FPV system if they just made a stonking camera for it. They really could. But 1080p 60 isn't going to cut it. We want 1080p 120 frames a second, as good as the Nebula Pro and the DJI cameras. Now, with the arrival of digital, sales must be down, so they're looking for any avenue. It is possible, Bruce, and that was where I felt it might be being a little bit underhanded. The website's absolutely fine. The website's great because it doesn't say anything, but it's like the Facebook posts and stuff. You sort of think, okay, can they get the chips? That is a major issue. You know, just to give you guys an idea, that voltage regulator for that FPV Air unit, that's out of stock everywhere. It's a valid part. and it's out of stock again due to the shortage. Is the Nebula Pro 720p? Oh, I can't remember. Let's have a look. I've got a bit confused because you've got the new Nebula Nano as well. Nebula Pro. I'm just trying to remember what the official spec of the camera is. 720p, 120 frames a second, which is the Air Unit. Talk about an agile business. That is fast. Before the great shortage, the diodes, the 1N4001s. Yeah, the world's coming to an end. We're not going to have 1N4001s. Let's just go to Cardex FPV. Let's just have a look. Nebula Pro. No, 720p. Still 720p. So it's still not 1080p, but it is 120 frames a second. Now, the only camera that is meant to be a direct replacement for the DJI one is this on this Air Unit, which is the new one I've got here, which is this one, the direct replacement. But I've not really looked at this enough yet to even tell you what it's doing. That's my testing for this week. But when we go on the product details on this one, this is the direct replacement. Oh, there we go, micro version. So we got the 19x19 micro camera, 720p video transmission. What is interesting is 1080p recording, 60 frames a second. Doesn't say the camera is though, does it? It doesn't actually. Let's just look, double check. IO interface, camera, 4 megapixel. They're not being clear though, are they? You know, there could be some trickery going on here. There could be. Talk about the shortages, planning to buy over the next 6 months, credit card, and take a real hammer in. Analog FPV with 30 frames. Yeah, with digital, it does seem people want it. So, interesting camera. Really is. We're going to have to see what happens. I don't know anyone at Runcam, so I can't ask any questions. If you do, Bruce, ask them some questions. I'm sure you know someone at Runcam. I have no contacts with them at all. So, that's that one. Now, if you've got any questions, guys, please do put it in the chat as always. You shall ask. Thank you very much. Also, send them my email address. I'd love to talk to them about it as well. Any questions, guys? Please do put them in the chat. Let me just catch up. Going down. 45 minutes tonight. 58 people watching. Good evening, 58 people. How are you all? 14 likes as well. Thank you. Okay, whilst we're on FPV, I think we'll wrap it up with Inav. Any update on the authentication problem update with the DJI Goggles version 2? Okay, authentication. So what do you mean by the authentication update? Burke, just remind me which issue you're talking. The battery issue, the issue being then stuck in FPV mode, the issue with activation. Good evening, Renegade FPV. How are you? Manix FPV. Can anyone remember the DJI antennas or mislay? Still see the link to Runcam camera. Let's put that in the chat as well. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so yeah, on that. Sorry, I meant the one being stuck in FPV mode. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so I've been asked, okay, what am I using? Right, when I was doing that FPV test, I've done it in two ways. So with the app, you've got the Android app. Now I was running the Android app on my Dragon Touch 10-inch tablet, which has really good latency when using that. And when I was running it on my PC, I was getting fairly good latency as well. Now, this isn't exactly a sluggish piece of kit. To give you an idea, it's an AMD Ryzen 3800X with a RTX 3070 graphics card. So that is the spec of the machine. We've got 32 gigs of RAM, a blindingly fast SSD. So yeah, the spec of the machine is very, very good. But if you're using it on the Android app, you should be seeing similar performance on a fairly good device. I was seeing it okay on this Dragon Touch. It's the Dragon Touch 10-inch tablet. I can't remember what SoC it has, but it's fairly decent. But yeah, this is a powerful PC. There's no question about it. Now, I was seeing varying latency from maybe 1, 2, 3 seconds at one point, but when I got it working well, it was down to, like that, as you saw in the video. But yeah, that's the spec of this. It does vary on every device. This is a powerful machine. I do think this is why DJI have never released an app for it, because of the varying levels of performance. I know we've had a lot of people talk about, DJI being evil and not handing out this app when they could have. But I do think you got to understand sometimes that from a manufacturer, or for a manufacturer to release something, they have to guarantee a level of performance. And it does make sense that they released it for the FPV system with the smart controller, because they could control that. They could tweak it, optimize it, and know it works. However, with all of the varying devices out there, you can start to see people get in trouble, and I can see why they didn't actually release an app for it. It's not as straightforward as these devs, and the devs did an amazing job. They were on you last week. Probably D3VL is probably hiding here somewhere. This isn't about the devs. This is about the way DJI have done it, and I do think there's a very real possibility that they just weren't confident in how varied the performance was, and that's why they didn't do it. I do think it might have been that. So that's on that one. Now, as for the firmware updates on this thing. Okay. It hasn't released yet, and I don't know why. Okay. What I can tell you is I have a firmware version, which I was shared, that showed me what they intend to do and what they intend to improve. And on top of that firmware, they bolted on a fix for this low battery issue on the FPV Goggles version 2. And that was done. And to give you, just to show you something, let me just grab a cable. No, I don't need to grab, yes, I do need to grab a cable. I need the V2s. I'm just going to power these up a minute. And I don't know how easy this will be to show you. Let's turn these on a minute. I just want to show you something. It's not easy to do on this, but I might have to do it on that to show you on that. But so I was made aware, we had a chat, we put out a video, we had a chat, I was shared some stuff, I gave loads of feedback, and then they very quickly came, right, we're going to do this, there's a firmware update coming, we're going to do this. And the info I was initially given was June, and then I was given a bit more info that it was going to be in the next couple of days, which hasn't happened. Okay, so today I know nothing more than that. Now, having looked, I think they might be still tweaking one or two of the new features that are coming for the FPV drone. Now, I'm not gonna tell you what's coming because it isn't fair of me to do that. They haven't said I can't, but I'm not going to out and out release their release notes before them, just in case it changes. There are some very minor changes, and please, I'm talking minor here. Smart controller owners might be happy. There's a change for this and the smart controller. I wonder if you could replicate what they do with the current FPV system Be good if you could connect the FPV drone to the smart controller via USB as well and share your video online, wouldn't it? Rather than use your phone if you owned a smart controller. Be a big shame if it didn't control the drone, just like it doesn't work on the other one. But yeah, you know, please don't expect major things here. But there was a couple of little bits of feedback I gave on one or two of the little changes. I wonder if they're just taking that on board. But let me just show something. And I've just seen a super chat from Mac Vision, which I'm going to address in a second. I just want to show you guys something. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but we'll see. So if I put that there, right, I'm going to have to try and focus this. This ain't going to be easy, but I just want to show you something. Ooh. Right, let's just get the focus sorted first, shall we? Can we focus on the displays or not? Right, okay, right. Let me just get this to focus first. This isn't going to work. That's going to be a nightmare. I was hoping to show you what it was showing on the screen a minute. Do you know, it's really annoying being able to get these to show up. Okay, that's not going to work. Let me do it the other way then. Let me just plug this in. Really frustrating. Use the S-Bus video out to the tablet. USB, yeah, but it doesn't show menus. Does it? Okay, there we go. I'll show you this. There we go. 1 second. Let me just do this before I share my screen, just so you guys can see as well. Now this is probably going to be quite small for you. But if you guys can see this, that is the current version of firmware that my system is running. So that will tell. Yeah, I've got my GoPro. I just haven't got HDMI. That is the current version of the firmware I'm running. So just to prove a point, yeah, that isn't out yet. Let's just say that. If you can see that. I don't know how well you can see this, but it certainly says version 01.01.3800. And that is the current version. And the current public version is 01010000. So, yeah, just to make a point, it does exist. It does exist. There is a firmware coming for it. As for when, I don't know. I can't tell you. I was told last week. Unfortunately, I'm at the whim. No, just hit it on top. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes. So you could see the back screen. Yeah, I could have done it that way, couldn't I? Yeah. But that just shows you what firmware I am running on the version 2s. So, yeah, it's not public. Yet. So, it's coming. I can't tell you when. I don't make the decisions. I'm not the guy who makes the decisions, unfortunately, on this stuff. Now, Mac Vision, I just want to thank you for the super chat. We don't get many on the channel, but when we do need to make a bit of a fuss. Now, Mac has been here for a very, very long time. He's been at the channel from very early days. I remember the name goes back a long time. And I just made a big thank you for the... let me move that forward a little bit. Big thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Something I want to talk a little bit about at the end of the video, actually, is the super chats and Patreon a little bit too. But massive thank you, my friend. Really massively appreciated. So I think we've covered everything on DJI. Right. Inav 3.0 is launched. I don't know if anyone's played with this yet. I haven't. Lots and lots of changes. Released a couple of days ago. Pavel has been busy, to say the least. Lots of really good stuff in here as well, actually. If we just get down to the notes. New features. Turtle mode. We now have turtle mode in Inav. Finally, turtle mode is in place. Requires D-shot, obviously. There's some changes, little stuff. Waypoint mission altitude changes, elevation changes, D-shot beeper, finally. Mavlink and Mavlink 2 support, which is cool. Pre-arm mode, 2-stage arming process. They're beginning to add support for H7 SoCs, which is really, really good. It's nice to see that coming in Inav as well, which means we might start seeing support for maybe some other interesting stuff. It'd be nice to see Inav be available on the Cube and stuff like that as well. Improved auto-tune for fixed wing, and a lot of other general improvements and updates. Lots, bump and OSD changes. You know, this list goes on forever. It really is. External secondary IMU support. I saw that as well. Very interesting. Like if you just look at the list, there's a massive amount of changes. Obviously, we've then got the recommended hardware, sensors, and everything else. So it is available. It's out. It's available to download if you're an Inav user. It looks to be a decent update, to be fair to them. Pavel's a great guy. But it won't run on your F1 board. No, unfortunately, they've also removed F3 support as well from Inav 3.0. So there's no F3 support. So that's gone out the window. So the Omnibus F3 or the SP Racing F3 are all dead too. We are nearly hitting 20,000. Yes, we are. And that's what I was going to talk a bit about at the end of the video as well. So, okay, Inav. Sony. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this week. Let me put that forward and lean down a little bit. Sony have finally unveiled the AirPeak S1. Now, this is a $9,000 pro-level drone, which I've got really mixed feelings about, if I'm honest. So it'll only run on the chips you can't buy. Yes, Bruce. There's the truth. Yeah. So Sony have finally released the AirPeak, and you know, there's a hell of a lot to like here. And we'll start looking through some of the stuff now. So obviously we've got this petapixel. We've also got the Sony website here. But there's a nice overview here of it. There was a good overview on SUAS News as well. And you know, there's some really interesting stuff here. The drone itself is a large quad, retractable legs. It's using a custom Gremsy gimbal. Now, it isn't using the standard version of the gimbal as well. It is a custom version of that gimbal. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a second. And it's designed to be used with Sony cameras, but it isn't unique to Sony. Other manufacturers may be able to do it as well. They're saying it's their own internal flight controller. It doesn't say what they're using. My bets, it is based off PX4. If I was a betting man, it is based off PX4. It's got vision processing on board. It's got what you would expect. All integrated camera controls as part of the Sony SDK. Interesting, very Sony-looking remote. You know, for me, I saw the remote and thought, yeah, that looks like Sony. It looks and feels very Sony in itself, doesn't it? You know, nothing groundbreaking here, but, you know, just looks the same as what we've seen on many other drones. Gimbals, button, you know, it's just another one. Camera compatibility, it's compatible with the A1, the A9 Mark II, the A7S3, A7R4, and the FX3. And yeah, and it's really designed as a cinematic drone. Now, it's an interesting bit of kit, but there's some real contradictions here. Now, it's designed to be used with the T3 gimbal, but it is a customized version, and it isn't included in the price. So you've got to buy the gimbal separately, which is a bit of a strange position to be in. And we don't know what the changes are. Sony say some custom work has been done to it to make the final S1 design price different, which is not provided at the time of publication. Now, some of the bits of this which are contradictory. The first thing is 13 minutes flight time. This drone will have 13 minutes flight time in real world use, and it has very basic return to home features. And in the original article, it said it didn't have a proper return to home, which I thought was strange. Now, you know, it is an interesting bit of kit. There's no question about it. And the cinematic FPV market is waiting for someone to step in and really take hold, because DJI really haven't done much since the Inspire 2. They've ended the M600, so there's nothing you can really go and bolt a big camera from them. And they've left the market wide open, and Sony are the one company who could walk in here and smash it. However, they're going to have to do better than this. 13 minutes flight time, third-party gimbal, $9,000. No. It's going to, you know, right now, the Inspire 2 knocks the pants off that thing. You know, the Inspire 2 will do 15 to 17 minutes flight time. You can bolt straight on the bottom of it, the X7, and you can still be well below 10 grand. So, Sony need to do better than that. Sony camera and lens is 5 grand. You're right. A7R4. Yeah, you put an A7R4 on there, and you know that setup can't even do ProRes RAW. Yes, we mentioned them at the start. Failsafe. We talked about them at the start. I've still got it up on the screen here. I had them on the screen. Those there. Yes, we spoke about them earlier. They're available. So, you know, with the Sony, I don't know. They're going to have to do better than that. You're going to have to see what they do. We're going to have to see how it goes. We're going to have to see how this whole turns out. There are people who will pay just because it's Sony. There's no question about that. There are people who will pay just to have the Sony name and it not be DJI. But from a specification point of view, 13 minutes flight time is not good enough. We need more than that these days. You know, we've got Mavic Minis pushing half an hour flight time now, and we're putting cinematic drones at 13 minutes. We need better than that. It needs to be more than that. And what they've got to be careful of is DJI could walk in with the Inspire 3 and take it entirely to the next level with another integrated camera solution that just knocks the spots off them. And don't get me wrong, Sony cameras are very, very good. This is a Sony camera. This is an A6400. I do all my live on the A6400. It's a really good camera. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to do better than 30 minutes flight time and maybe have a return to home and a third-party gimbal. Just checking in on the comments. If you get a spare battery for 150 quid. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks on this as well. It depends what the battery prices are. This ain't cheap. The fact the drone is $9,000 tells you batteries are not going to be £150. They're really not. Okay, so we've got the Sony. Just looking on the Sony site as well. You know, they got a nice website with some stuff on, and they're showing some stuff here. Learn more. It looks a lot better than it did. Do you know what I mean? World's smallest drone that can carry a full Alpha series mirrorless camera. Sony developed flight control system. Up to 22 minutes without a payload. Yeah, but you look at what it is with a payload. It drops dramatically. Retractable landing gear. You know, there's a lot of nice stuff with this. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to like here, but we need better than this. I'm also intrigued. I remember reading their radio system. Where does it say about the radio system? I was reading about it, and I can't remember if it was very low range or very long range. I've lost track now. Features. Right, where was it? Because I was intrigued what they were using, because at the end of the day, DJI have had the market you know, on FPV side of things for a long time. We've got their motors, stable in winds. Yeah, here we go. Look, flight time. 22 minutes without a payload, 12 minutes with a payload. That ain't good enough. Will it freestyle? I don't think it will. High performance sensors from Sony. Look, you know Sony's going to get that right. That's right up their street. And they're showing you in this is what their sensing is doing. Very similar to what Skydio have been doing, actually. Really interesting stuff. 3D spatial awareness. So some really cool stuff on this. Some really cool stuff. Exclusive, where is it? Remote controller. Here we go. So there's going to be a dedicated app. And I like the look of the app. The app looks real like Sony. It really does look like Sony, if you get my meaning. It just feels Sony all over. I'm a massive fan of Sony. I've always wished Sony would buy GoPro. I've always thought GoPro would have a fantastic home with Sony. Always did think it would. And then you've got the base app, and there's going to be a base station app. You know, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. I'm just trying to find what they said about the range. Specification. Right, radio range. Okay, here we go. Flight time, transmission. Ah, here it was. Yes. So, 1.2 miles in 2.4 gig. And 1.2 miles in 5.8 gig. There is a 5.2 gig band, which I'm guessing might be Japan. So 1.2 miles. And that's what I was like, wow, okay, really? Now, don't get me wrong, you're not flying that far, but there's really nothing groundbreaking here at all on any of this stuff, you know. It almost feels very... It is a long way for a big bird, but give you an idea, an M600 will do 4 to 5 mile. But it's not always about the range. It's the, you know, it's how it'll be interesting to see how it stands up around buildings and structures, because that's the key to a proper cinematic drone. Often you're flying in tough environment, radio environment places that the power, you need sort of the penetration from the system to keep the radio signal strong. It's not so much range, but generally a good long range system has good penetration generally. Bruce will argue with me on that one in a minute. But yeah, so that's the Sony. Very interesting. Nothing fantastic. I think they've got a lot of work to do yet. Tell me what you guys think in the comments as well. They did. Someone tried to hand catch an M300. That's never going to aim well. Or that gets you a Darwin Award. You try to hand catch an M300. Yes and no, Bruce. And now I read about this. They've said it's going to be entirely optional. So you can choose to turn it on or not. That's what they said in their original documentation. However, well, it'll be a specific category drone, so technically you won't need to technically have it. But there are countries that will force mandate it. There are some countries where you have to have geofencing anyway. Can you... I'm not even sure if you can sell a drone in the UK without it now or very soon. I'm trying to remember. I have to go back and have a look at the specific category paperwork, but I can't remember if you can sell a drone without very special requirements. But yeah, Sony have said it's going to be optional. So that's it on that one. Now, if you've got any questions, guys, please do put them in the chat before we wrap this one up. I think I've covered everything I was going to cover this week. If you've got any questions on anything we've talked about, put it in. I'm just roaming through the... What have we covered? So we've covered that, we've covered that, we've done that. Always here to answer questions as well on anything. Just checking, yeah. Now, whilst I'm waiting on that, I'm just going to get up to YouTube. And I just want to talk a little bit. FPV Tech have a third-party battery mount for the drone. How does that work? So what you need to do is you've got to either modify your drone battery or slave it on. So you're paralleling up the battery. What's the best glue for mounting USB ports? Thank you, Bruce. I'm an expert on that. Let me just find the right screen. Now, to talk a bit about the channel before we finish this one up this week, and we are heading for 20,000 subscribers. I think it was 19,800 earlier, 820 or something like that it was, but we are heading for 20,000. It says 19.8 here, but we are getting very close. Now, if I go into the analytics, let me just find that bit of it. Yeah, 19,816 exactly. So if someone unsubscribes right now, it'll go down, which would be funny. Now, it's crazy because it's been a long old slog. I'm just going to move that forward slightly. If I go back, let me just go back and we'll start looking. Let's go to the... It's been a long old slog, actually, to this number. And I, you know, Bruce said to me before, I remember Bruce saying, you know, it's a lot harder now than it ever was, you know. You know, if we go to the desktop, if you look, I've been doing this now 6 years in total, on and off. I've done everything I could to slow the growth of this channel, but it's just not working. Thank you, Bruce. You know, and if I go back, look, we've been doing it a long time. And it's funny because FPV has exploded right now. I've been doing FPV from day one. Look, if you go back, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My 7th video I ever made was about FPV. 9th video, FPV, Fat Shock Dominators. It was DJI FPV back then, but I've done FPV from day one, and it's quite funny how FPV has exploded now compared to the other parts of the drone industry. But yeah, look, if I look back, you know, the channel's now, you know, 6 years ago, we had a lot of stuff on the Phantom, and some of these videos had some really good viewing numbers. Back then, 83k, 130, 68. Now, these were all videos that were done to try and help people. That was the purpose of all of this content, is to try and give you guys info you wouldn't normally be able to get. And that was the idea of it. And then we got the inspired. Oh, look at the bench back then. It's quite funny if I look back at... I can't say I'm any better at it, but see this bench you can see here, right? Let me just mute it. This bench you see here is still over there. Oh God, look at the old start. I haven't even got a start. I've not bothered these days. That bench is over there. That's right behind the camera now. We've flipped 180 degrees because this has been turned into an office. What was I doing in this video? I can't remember. And that's the old workbench back then. You could see, and you know, and I'd been building quads and stuff on and off for years before this. And then we started getting through, and we started doing some stuff. And then we had the FPV goggles. I was very early doors with the FPV goggles. You know, if I look at the Cube, I did the first video on the Cube Autopilot 4 years ago now. Wow, 4 years. Surprising how it goes. Syndents video, I had one of the first Syndents in the world. I was really pleased to get that. But yeah, look, you know, the channel has grown, and it was a long old slog. And if we keep going down, I don't know how many videos are here now. I've lost track. I have lost track. And it's quite funny. You look at some stuff that just hasn't worked. Like if we look at reviews, right? Look at that. The Osmo Action. Literally 631 views on that video 1 year ago. Just no one was interested at all. 800 on that one. You can never tell what will work and what won't. The cheer videos, as Bruce likes to say, take the mickey out of me for, which have done particularly okay. The Ronin series did really well. I haven't done anything with them now. I haven't got one. So much of your life has been wasted. But yeah, look, and then I tried to take things a bit more seriously. It's clear to me what doesn't work is things around like consumer electronics. Doesn't seem to work at all. Dragon Touch tablet, soldering tips. That didn't do well for strange reason. But yeah, look. But the channel's grown and grown, and I've how many are here now? Does it say? Does it? It doesn't. It doesn't actually say how many videos there are. But no, look. The channel has grown. It's. You should make more viral videos. Yeah, no one wants a viral video from me. But it's been a long slog, but I'm really pleased and thankful to everyone really who subscribed, because there's no goal with this. This isn't about me making money or being popular, or this has always been an outlet to go, right, this is what I do in the background when I'm not working and stuff, and I'm going to share with you some of the stuff, or try and share info with you guys in a way that you won't get anywhere else, or at least in a different way, because we do all hash over stuff at the moment. And it's quite funny, me and RC Shim seem to be following a very similar path on some certain stuff, completely randomly as well. It's been quite funny. He's done a video on something, I've done it like, it's all recorded. You don't bang these videos out in a day. These are often, most of my videos are on the cutting table for 3 to 4 weeks, because I just don't have a lot of time. So I'll do all the recording and then later come back and do the editing. So most videos are 3 to 4 weeks, if not longer. And Mario is Mario, we've been messaging each other a little on our videos, and we've done it like 3 times now. I think we've put out really similar content on very similar things, and he's a great guy. But I'm really pleased the way the channel's growing, and really more than anything, guys, it's just a thank you to everyone who's subscribed. There's no plan here with this. There's never has been a plan that the channel is here to make me an income or make me famous, or I don't want any of that. This is just about me sharing with you guys what I do and trying to help people in what I do as well. And if I can give a little bit of advice, people benefit. And if everyone shares, we all benefit. I learn from you, you learn from me, I learn from Bruce. And it's all about sharing information. And that's what I was doing on RC groups. I had over 25,000 posts on RC groups, of which largely were helping people. That they were largely about me giving advice to people. It's just a big thank you. And I don't really know what we're going to do for 20k. I've got to come up with something, and I want to give a thank you to you guys. I've said I'm going to give away the adapters, but that's not a lot. That's 3D print time more than anything, and a bit of energy which I'm generating. But I do want to do something to thank you guys, and and the support. And I also want to thank a few specific people as well, because there are some people who are very specific. There's Bruce and Gary, who I owe a huge amount to. Bruce and Gary for welcoming me in under their wings somewhat. Bruce being the YouTube superstar that he is. And look, I've always looked up to Bruce massively. I remember when Bruce had some trouble some years ago, and I went on RC groups and I made a kickoff post on there about we need to help him when he lost his wings and all of that crap. And I've always been a massive fan of Bruce and Gary at SUS News. They've just been really good guys who've welcomed me in sort of to their little world as well, and I'm privileged to be part of it. I always class myself as privileged to be part of that room. Now, there are some other people I want to thank as well, and I just need to find it because it's disappeared on me, and it is the few Patreons that I have. And I do have a few Patreons, and they're not many, but they are valuable, and I've let them down quite badly, if I'm completely honest. What's really annoying is I took a screenshot and it's disappeared. How annoying is that? All right, we'll do it again. I'm going to take a screenshot because I can't just show the page because it will show their email addresses and stuff, so I don't want to do that. But there are a few people that I want to thank, and it is David Owens, James Hughes, JW, Ben Steineman, Joe Collins, and Martin. And these guys have been patrons on the channel on and off for a while. And I just want to say a massive thank you to these guys as well. They donate a small amount every month, and it is vital. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do some of the things I do. I really do appreciate it, and I've let them down badly. When I set up Patreon, I set up a Discord server, which I basically ignored. I am useless at that because of time. I need to do something better for these guys. I really do. They deserve better than that for what they pay. Let's just put it that way. But it's a massive thank you to the patrons. We only have a few, very small number. It's something I want to grow, and if anyone does want to support the channel, Patreon is there if you want to consider doing it. You know, the channel gets its income from YouTube advertising revenue, and that goes back into buying stuff for the channel. You know, I don't take any money from the channel at all for myself, in the sense of to pay my household bills or anything like that. The income from the channel, I'm lucky to be in the position of that income is used to buy product. So I'm in the position now of been building up a little bit of a small war chest, which means when stuff starts coming out, we'll be able to talk about it. I don't have the involvement with the DJI affiliate scheme anymore, because it doesn't exist anymore. So that is a massive loss to the channel, and I did say that at the time because that allowed me to get this. I wouldn't get this without the affiliate scheme. DJI didn't send me that to review. I bought that through affiliate income with no strings attached. I turned down the option to review it in the end because I was unhappy with how things were unfolding, let's just say. But yeah, so it's just a massive thank you to everyone who subscribed, a massive thank you to everyone who supports the channel and watches the channel. If you are someone who wants to support what we do, check out Patreon. If you want to support us, that's the way forward now. There's also Buy Me a Coffee as well, and there's a few people who've done that in the last week as well, and I owe them a big thank you too, because that's started to make movement. So you've got Patreon if you want to support us on an ongoing basis, and you've got Buy Me a Coffee, which is the short-term basis as well. And again, massive thank you to everyone who's done that. And I need to come up with a better way of thanking the guys on both of these as well. I'm probably going to put up like an end screen on every video and just put a thank you. So yeah, you know, we wouldn't be in the position we're in today with the office, the equipment, the studio, and on top of the people, there's been a few companies who've been very, very good to me, and one of them is 3DXR, Ben in the UK. Ben's fantastic, absolutely brilliant dealer. As has been QPilot, Philip Rose at QPilot. I've been very, very lucky to get to know him a little bit, and I'm a big supporter of the products they make. I look at other products. CUAV have been very kind to me as well, direct competitor, but you know, I'm not one above the other. DJI have been very good to me over the years as well, and as has a number of other companies. Telonic Instruments, we wouldn't have the oscilloscope without Telonic. So there are a few companies who've supported us quite heavily. Mixig, another one. So really, it's just a thank you to everyone who's got the channel to where it is today. And there's some really cool stuff coming in the future. I want to do more around this radio stuff. We want to dig in more to how the radio stuff works, and I was going to talk a bit about that tonight actually, and we'll end on that in a minute because I can share something with you that I've come across. And if you saw my video on the DJI radio systems, you'll know what I'm talking about. But we've been lucky to be able to borrow that spectrum analyzer. So companies have been very kind to us over the years. But look, the 20K is coming. It's a massive thank you to everyone. I will try to do something. I've been trying to come up with a way of sort of getting you guys something you can support us but buy, and I don't really know what it is. I had a bit of an idea, I just haven't had the time to finish what the idea was off, but I need to. Time is always the key for me. You know, I got a young family. The real world exists as well, so time is always the big one. But really, guys, it's not really merch, Bruce. It was just something that, like, I thought about it as like a tool or something like that, a sort of a tool, but not a tool, if you get my meaning. But yeah, some options. Been thinking about some interesting options. Hi mate, have you got new info about the FlySafe database error? No. Hopefully that will all resolve with the new firmware when it finally releases as well. It is due. It is due at any moment in time. So really that's it on the channel. 20k is coming. Massive thank you to everyone and everyone who subscribes. And if you're not a subscriber now, please consider hitting the button and try and get us there. It's looking like we'll do it this month, maybe June, maybe July. I remember someone asked me earlier, who was it earlier? Do I remember? Forget the coffee, buy him a new Vista. My heart bleeds for them for that. Yeah, thank you. It's yeah, the bloody thing. Someone asked me earlier, do I remember the 12,500 show? Was I drunk? So I saw it just now. Catching the comments. Hey Bruce, bit of topic. Barry, okay. Bruce made those japes. Yeah. Like this, I've been very lucky to be able to build this room to the way it is as well. And this is a working office. It looks like a studio, but it isn't a studio. It is a hand on heart, a working office. This is. Install Windows in your shed. Yes. Someone asked, do I remember the 12.5 show? Where is it? Was it type? It's usually type. Yes, it was. Can you remember the 12,500 show? Vaguely. Was I drunk type? I usually am. I can't remember. Was I drunk on that one? Yeah, was I vaguely remember. I'll have to go back and have a look. It wasn't that long ago, was it? It wasn't that long ago at all. Right, okay, so let's quickly get this last bit over because we've been going an hour and a half and then wrap this one up. Right, for those of you who have seen the video looking at the DJI Digital FPV system, talking about the radio system, and if you've watched it, you'd have seen me talk about the differences in behavior on the system in 25 megs mode versus 50. So to quickly summarize, in 25 megs mode, the RC channel always follows the video. And it always stays with the video. So if your channel 1 is video, the RC is on channel 1. Channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, channel 5, channel 6, XXX. It doesn't stay on channel 8. However, in 50 megabits mode, the RC tends to stay on channel 8 pretty much all of the time. No matter what one of the other 3 channels you put it on, it stays on channel 8. However, I did view it move once and I couldn't replicate it again. Now this week I've been doing some more tests with the spectrum analyzer and I have been able to replicate it again and see it move, and it is a random thing, but it doesn't happen very often. Now I'll just put the video up so I can show you guys. Now what I have learned from this is it's not that it moves to another random channel, it moves to channel 2 and stays at channel 2, and even when you move the video to channel 1 or 3, the RC stays on channel 2. So this sticking mode remains, it just moves the RC onto a different channel. It is very odd behavior and I haven't been able to fully grasp why it's doing it, but I have been actually able to prove it is doing it whilst it was on the bench. Now let me just find the video because I only recorded them yesterday. Is it this one here? Let me just find it first of all. Oh, we don't need to hear my voice. Let's mute it. Is it this one? Actually, no, it should be the second for the last one. Let me just see if it is this one. No, I tried to do this as a 1-minute short video to upload. Is it this one? Let me just look. Nope, it's not the one. It shows what I prepped for this one. Here we are here. So, show you on the desktop. So, this is currently in 50 megs mode. You've got the video on channel 1, and now the RC is on channel 2. Now you can see the fan I've got on the Vista. This was me after I burnt the Air unit out, because I had to move over to the Vista. But yeah, you can actually see that it's moved it down to there this time, rather than keep it on channel 8. And it's quite interesting, but it only moves to channel 2. And then, if you go to channel 8, it moves the video back and RC to channel 8, and then the RC stays on channel 8. So it seems to happen randomly that when you power it up, very randomly, it will put the RC on channel 2 instead of channel 8. So it's really weird. Really, really weird indeed. Not sure what to make of it, but it's not as simple as the video and RC following each other. It just moves the RC to the other channel. Now, another interesting behavior, and this is the last little bit of interesting behavior, and this is in the video I said, when you turn on 50 megs mode, you drop down to having 4 channels, 3 private plus 1 public. Public channel 8, and then channel 1, 2, and 3. Channel 1, 2, and 3 work in 50 megs mode, but channel 8 doesn't. Channel 8 always remains 25 megs. That is correct until you reboot. And if you reboot with the system in channel 50 megs mode and on channel 8, it will start up in 50 megs in channel 8. So when you switch to channel 8 live, it only will stay on 25 megs bandwidth and only go to 50 when you move channel. And when you move, say, from 8 to 2, but 2 back to 8, it'll drop back down to 25 megs. But if you reboot the system, leaving it in 50 megs mode, it will reboot into channel 8 in 50 megs mode. And I think this explains even more why sometimes it knocks out the other people around them. And it's really weird behavior. It's really, really strange behavior. But it's very... you can replicate it. It's really strange. Really strange. So the 50 megs mode has some really odd behavior. So if you switch into 50 megs mode, live on with someone from 25 and go to channel 8, it'll be in 25 megs. And then when you move out of channel 8, it'll go to 50. But if you boot it up in 50 megs mode, channel 8 will be in 50 megs mode. And it will leave the RC in 50 megs mode. And remember, when you're in 50 megs mode, the RC generally always stays in channel 8, no matter what channel you put the video in. As Bruce says, 50 megs mode, the I own the entire band mode. It's weird. It's really weird, the behavior. Really weird behavior. It really is. Just checking. Just put it on the Vistas instead of the goggles. Okay, well, let's just have a look. Bruce. No, I was serious one and very funny. Oh, yes, it was. I remember the 1200. Yeah, we were just... Yeah, it was. Long but tough times back then. It was a funny but tough times back then. It was. It was back then. It was a weird period. Root directory when connected to storage. Yeah, so as Bruce says, on the Vista, people always seem to get this confused a little bit. The 700 milliwatt FCC hack goes on the Air unit, whether it be DJI or Vista, and then the 1200 hack to give up to 1000 and 1200 watts output goes on the goggles, but you must have done the FCC hack first. So it must have 700 milliwatt mode available first. Chopper Girl says no one can fly together in 50 megs mode. Not ideal. It's not worth even trying, in my opinion. And the reason is, whilst you could all set your videos onto different channels, if there's 3 of you, you could go channel 1, 2, and 3. All of your RCs would most likely be on channel 8. And that is the problem. And that is the big problem. We don't know. They've chosen to move the RC away from the video on purpose. I don't know why. Most likely interference. And here's something very interesting, actually. I cannot force the DJI FPV system to channel hop the RC. I literally, the day I burnt that air unit out, had here a Mavic 2, the Inspire 2, basically next to the RC, away from the air unit, the goggles. I tried every combination. I cannot make the RC channel hop in any shape or form on the Digital FPV system. On the FPV drone, on the Inspire 2, on the Mavic, I can make it channel hop instantly. The second any interference comes up, it will shift. Whereas the FPV system, no. The RC, if it's on channel 8, it's on channel 8 in 50 megs mode. There's nothing that will force it to move in my experience. Very strange behavior. Now, there is the remote possibility of it jumping to channel 2, and I do wonder if DJI have put in this quirk that it will go on 8 or 2 if 2 is clear. But I haven't been able to make it do it. Yeah, that's the thing. See, normally, yeah, it is, you know, you're just blending 2 channels, as it's double the bandwidth, as Mad Max FPV said. You're just doubling the bandwidth. You're going from 25 to 50 megs, twice as wide. Now, in 25 megs mode, they've always got the RC signal and the telemetry from the goggles bouncing over the top of that. Whereas in 50, it's possible that they've just said, no, we're going to keep it to one side. RC doesn't need a channel hop, probably DSSS also use temporal speculation several times to work on the same frequency. Yeah, it's interesting. I was just expecting it, though, Bruce, to move. Because if you look at the way the remote works on most of the other systems, they are channel hopping. Not like FHSS as such. Lightbridge is very much FHSS, bouncing all over the place. OcuSync less so. The FPV drone less so, but it will move. So, for instance, on the FPV drone, it traditionally leaves the RC on 2.5 gigs. Sorry, was it 5 gigs or 2.4? I've forgotten. I think it was 2. I've forgotten. I need to test it again. Whatever mode you put the video in on the FPV drone, it leaves the RC in 2.4. Yeah, it's 2.4. I'm 99% it's 2.4. So even if the video's on 5 gigs, the RC's in 2.4. It's really interesting, and you can get it to move around. You think maybe 50 megs was just, I wonder what happens if. Yeah, I think they've, you know, they added the mode later. I think it's very much, it's for one person flying, and that's all DJI were interested in. And I think on paper, they've just gone, right, this is the mode, this is how it works. We're not going to do much development on that. Let's put all the RCs on channel 8. Let's let them have 1 to 3 video channels, and then there's a channel 8. But remember, you can still fly in channel 8. You still can fly in channel 8 in 50 megs mode. Now, it will do 50 megs mode if you boot into it. You can't change it into channel 8 to go into 50 megs. Because the second you move into it, it goes down to 25. But if you boot into channel 8 and leave it on channel 8, it will be 50 megs. It's very weird. Very, very weird indeed. See what happens if you put a concert camera on the RC fixing. I did it. I put an analog VTX on top of it. I put a Lightbridge VTX, Bruce, a 50 megs wide Lightbridge one, smack on top of the RC, and it wouldn't move. I put the drone the other side of the garden. I put the RC next to it. Wouldn't do it. I did it the other way around as well with the Inspire. No matter what I did, the FPV system doesn't appear to move the RC at all. If it's on channel 8, it sits there. No matter what you throw at it, it sits there. Very, very weird behavior. I slapped on it. You remember when I showed you, Bruce, how big the OcuSync carrier was? I banged one of them on top of it. Because I thought, yeah, it's never going to hear through that. The DJI transmitter, yes. I am talking about the DJI version 1, the black one. This one. Yeah, it's really interesting behavior. Really interesting behavior indeed. It really is. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me again on a Sunday night. I hope the info has been useful. Let's move the microphone. Just catching up on the comments. That's sure, Shaver, not sure it'd stop over voltage. I don't know, Lean. Leggings? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm going to use one. I'm going to get one. I've got to do something. You can't keep blowing 100, one burn of 150 to 180 quid a unit, 170 quid a unit is enough. Don't get me wrong, I don't need a camera, but if I could buy the Air Unit module, can you still get them from DJI? That's a point. I do have a little bit of credit left. I was trying to find if there was any on eBay. Flying across fire, it's fine. Yeah, completely different. Store. Are they actually selling the Air Unit modules on their own now or not? DJI FPV system. Ah, they do. In stock? Oh, yes. You can actually get a replacement Air Unit from DJI. So I could just get the Air Unit itself. £99 left. So if I can't fix it, I'll just have to get an Air Unit. I'll have to just get an Air Unit. And then I'll probably part out the radio board on it. I'm hoping I can do a fix. It's going to be a challenge, I'll be honest. It's at the peak of skills needed, that size. It's incredibly small. Incredibly small. The biggest challenge on that IC is going to not be having too much solder under it, that when it drops down, it squeezes out onto the pins. It's going to have to be a minuscule amount of solder right under the IC. How about sending it to K? Well, I don't have K on it, DJI. Well, technically, that's a pre-release Air Unit, that one. That was one of the Air Unit. That is my first ever Air Unit I had with the system before it was actually released. It just needs smoke. The factory smoke is replaced. Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm semi-confident. And I mean semi-confident. We can do something. We should be able to do something. Yeah, I was thinking that, Bruce. So what was you think? Put some solder paste on the whole chip. Is that what would you do then, Bruce, thinking about this? Because I did have this thought. I had a thought of, what would you manually? I'd be tempted to remove all the solder, manually paste it with a spatula, and then remove the paste between the pins manually. Just, with a set of tweezers, or a thing, and then drop it on and just heat it with flux. I was thinking that. And rather than try to manually solder, just go for the solder paste option and hope that it takes. So almost, because I won't have a stencil, it balls up quite nicely and really bridges because loaded with flux. That's what I'm... So what would you then? Just paste the whole bottom of the chip and drop it on, Bruce, and let it move to where it needs to move? Or literally actually paste the bottom of the chip and very carefully with the tweezers just sort of scrape there and then there. That's what I'm thinking. Do you know, funny you say that. That was in my head as an idea. And then a chunk of flux and literally very careful, drop it in place and just heat it. It's probably the safest way. Paste the whole lot. Settled into the board while reflowing. It's a good point, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be it's funny you say that. Funny you say that. Okay, guys. Thank you for spending time with me. Have a great week. Stay safe. Stay lucky. Don't burn out Air Units. Thank you for watching. And I'll give you guys an update next week. If there's a video, I'm not going to do it live. I'm not going to try and break it live. But yeah. Anyway, thank you. Stay safe. I'll speak to you guys soon. Can't find the end button. It's not working. It's not letting me end. I'm going to have to use this one. Has it ended? No, it hasn't ended. It's still there. Bye-bye.